Hi, this is a prediction for the end of September and the last 3 months of 2020, because in December comes the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, just right after the great total eclipse, which is the reason why all this world chaos is happening. For those who already follow me know that since 2019 I've been predicting all of 2020 and even before, and I have been documenting my predictions and comparing it with the actual world events that actually show the correlation between astrology and all the world events is precise and exact. So now we are going to see how this ends and begins again. I'm going to start with the more superficial and chaotic, the more obvious, because it's what we are seeing, but at the end it comes a positive aspect of all this. It's important to clarify that although in most of my predictions sometimes I have been too much accurate and shown that the governments use astrology to direct the energies of the population, this new prediction is the possible astrological script, the new astral fiction. But because it's not a reality yet, we can change it. So, in August, like I predicted, we had the explosion apocalypse, everything started to blow up, and we just had the major planets of the Great Conjunction, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, which are in the signs of government, reaching their maximum point of going retrograde, of moving backwards. And now they have just been stationary, meaning they're on a pause. So that is why we are seeing that everything is like in a pause. All the situation is like it's in standing by. Well, now that is the maximum of it, of the standing by state. Now we are going to see everything moves forward again. But there is some changes. It's not going to be like in March, where the lockdown was announced and everything froze and everything stopped. It's not going to be exactly like that. In the moment that I make this video, we are right in the moment of pause, where all the planets of the Great Conjunction are right there being held, but charging and charging and charging. In September and October, when they will unleash all that charge, it will be like a race through the abyss to the other side, the Great Conjunction. First, we just got Mars retrograde, going backwards. Mars is the planet of actions and willpower and firepower, and it was on the sign of Aries, which is the individual, is the sign of leadership, of impulse. And that combination, Mars in Aries, is what gave the power to the people to rebel, to move forward and make all those protests, right, against the government restrictions, against the law. Well, now that energy is going to go backward. So it's going to step back a little bit. It's going to start to repeat itself. Like it wants to move forward and go back again. It's one step forward, one step back. It cannot really unleash itself. The protest repeats, but they can't get ahead completely. It's like even the security forces are also going to lose strength. They're coming back and they're not coming back. They're back and forward, back and forward. And even the explosion apocalypse is going to repeat, but not full. Explosions, but no apocalypse explosions. Back and forward, back and forward. For example, I am an Aries, which is ruled by Mars, and Mars being the willpower is going back, which takes away that willpower at full. I am already feeling that draining of that fire. It's like, yeah, just feel it. But in October, in the first week, Mars goes back into the constellation of Pisces, which is the word for Mars because Mars is fire, and Pisces drowns him completely. The willpower and the firepower really diminish here. It's going to come back on November. And with Mars going retrograde, all those forces of protest that were unleashed, which want to live without law, because we're really seeing an imbalance here, And in the places where there is law, sometimes there is too much enforcement and just. And the places where there is no law, we see the same thing, a disaster. But these forces of complete anarchy, which will lose the forward momentum, are going to retreat. But this time they're going to retreat outside cities, and they're going to start invading farm communities, take over properties, and you're going to see like a swarm of zombies invading rural areas and start forming some sort of, you're going to see like in movies, like post-apocalyptic settlements, exactly like that. On the middle of September, also Jupiter went direct, it gains speed again. Jupiter is the planet of hope and the search for the truth. It was backward, and it was joining the south node, which is like a black hole that sucks the hope out of it. And of course, most of the world was really hopeless, right? Like, we don't see a way out of the situation, even though some places get free or not, others not so much. So now it's going to start to move away from the node, recovering his speed, is the search for the truth. A little hope is going to start coming back. This is also in the sign of government, which will start making attempts to get back, to expand his reach, but it also represents the search for truth, the truther community, for example, the medical community that learned the truth when the lockdown began was exactly when Jupiter had entered the conjunction. Jupiter made a conjunction with Pluto, the invisible enemy, exactly on the moment when the lockdown was announced. It was like when it entered, Pluto is represent the hidden enemy, the deep states, the conspiracy. When Jupiter joined it, made a conjunction with it, and entered the conjunction, Jupiter learned everything about all the deception, all the conspiracy, all the lies, right? Now it's out. Now Jupiter got out of the conjunction, and it says, now I know the truth, and he's going to move forward. The government is going to try to expand again, and Jupiter now knows the truth. So it's not going to be so easy. Then on 29, we got Saturn going direct. So Jupiter and Saturn going direct. Saturn is the planet of control and restriction, and is in the sign of government. So government is going to want to get back to the restrictions, to expand the lockdown. But now it's different. Why? Because now Jupiter has learned the truth, and when the lockdown was announced, was exactly when Saturn reached the 0 degree of Aquarius. Aquarius is society, and Saturn in Aquarius would mean a restriction of society. Aquarius is also air, and we have the mandatory mask, and no movement, and mandatory distance. And Aquarius is also internet. And when Saturn went there, at the beginning of 2020, was the beginning of censorship. Well, that was when Saturn was on 0 degree Aquarius, but now it's not there. It's still in the sign of government, but not in Aquarius. So it's not going to be so effective. It's going to try, but it's not going to really can. Why? Because in the moment that the lockdown was announced, Saturn in the 0 degree Aquarius was also announced, aligned with Mars. Mars is the sign of the weapon. So the government was aligned with the armed forces, right? With the police. But now the planet Mars is on the sign of Aries and in retrogradation. So it doesn't have the same strength and it doesn't have the same alignment. So everything is going to be chaotic. So the government is going to start using private forces. So it's not going to have the same strength. The alliance is not there. Everything is not aligned. Mars is going to be a square to the conjunction. A square is not an opposition where two forces collide head on. A square is like a challenge. It's a 90-degree angle. Mars here, the conjunction here, right? It would be like, imagine a scene on a movie where you see a corner and there is one guy here shooting, choo choo choo, pew 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 pew, and this one hides and then comes out and shoots him. pew, 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 and this one hides, and like that, pew, 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 pew. It's going to be like that, like some kind of prolonged shootout hidden in corners. So everything is going to be more confusing. People are really no longer be able to realize if there is a law, if there is not a law. All this, is there a government, not a government, what the heck? This is going to create two situations: people that want to be outside the law for bad reasons, and people that want to be outside the law because the law enforcement have turned oppressive. Those people will have an opportunity. Losing the backup of the state, they're going to have to start making alliances so they can defend themselves and each other, right? Communities where they create their own forces to patrol the street because the government has made laws criminal and so on and so on. It's going to start seeing an inversion from the north to the south because, for example, here in Argentina we have a huge, the longest quarantine lockdown because we have really a cold year, so people didn't really have the strength to go out. But now that is going to reverse, and in the northern hemisphere is going to start the winter, and there the measures are going to be tougher, going to be like an inversion. So now we have Jupiter and Saturn, the two main planets that one is government expansion, the other one is the search for truth, completely unleashed in a race to the end of the year, to the 0-degree Aquarius. So it's going to be like these two forces are on a race. They really don't know why they're on a race to the end of the year, but they can feel it. They can feel it as this is some gate in time that is attracting them. They gotta get there first with. Basically, they reach the same place at the same time, right? Just a little days different, but they get together. They reach the finish line at the same time. So even though they're racing, they get there together. These are the two planets that are the rulers of times. The final countdown, as if time moves super fast and at the same time is stretched forever, like it stopped but we're already in the conjunction. It's like time collapse. Pluto goes direct. That's the other protagonist of the Great Conjunction. Pluto is hell. In the negative aspect is hell. In the positive aspect is resurrection. Pluto is the invisible enemy. So we have the second wave. It's the deep state. It represents hidden enemies. The conspiracy moves forward again, and it's on a hurry to make more damage before Jupiter enters the conjunction again, because Jupiter is the great benefactor and Pluto is the underworld. So what we are going to see is the reveal of a hidden army of death. Imagine some Russian paramilitary group emerging and causing massive genocide. Pluto means collapse, demolition. Saturn is control. Jupiter is huge. Pluto is also underground, so we have a lot of control, demolition via underground explosions.